So clear distinctions in Fibonacci forecasting. First, there's predictions, there's forecasts, and Fibonacci forecasting, which really ultimately gets into noticing something early, noticing something in its early stages. Not even really forecasting anymore. It's simply noticing and identifying something very clearly, very quickly. So, there are many uses of the terms predicting and forecasting. Predicting something can take the form of anything from an implicit, unconscious presumption to an explicit guess or even a calculated speculation. Predictions include most any reference to the future. Some predictions are accurate, but obviously not all. Some predictions get revised or discarded over time. Forecasting references a specific kind of prediction based on one or more explicit conscious deductions based on actual monitoring of recent changes before formulating a prediction. So we're noticing something. We noticed a pattern. Previously, we noticed what looks like it may be the first instance of a pattern we already recognize. Then we can make a forecast or a very conscious speculation or prediction based on monitoring what we might call the first in a sequence, right? If there's a domino effect, we can see, okay, that looks like it might be the first in a recognizable sequence. And then we can continue to monitor, continue to observe, and see, does that sequence in fact manifest in the predicted order and the predicted pace, and so forth. So forecasts are much more specific than predictions in general. Forecasts have to do with a sequence of events. So forecasting implies, in general, the ongoing monitoring of data considered relevant to the prediction, and then some system of logical analyzing or interpreting of that monitored data. Some forecasts are obviously more accurate than others, and forecasts, of course, can be updated and revised or even discarded if the sequence of events does not proceed as anticipated, then, or something, a different sequence happens, and we can start to say, well, our prior forecast, we're gonna at least set it aside for the moment and consider what else might be happening. Humans forecast things all of the time. Like before I said time, you might have known that I was very likely to say time because I had said humans predict things all of the time, and this was a recognizable pattern for you. So Fibonacci forecasting references a system of forecasting that includes an acknowledgement of the 5 basic principles of Fibonacci forecasting, which I previously mentioned in the other segment, particularly what I call the interdependency of multiple levels of scale. I spoke about the cellular level, and the level of organs, the level of organisms, on the level of organizations and ecosystems. And in the images that I have prepared of some ferns, we also see interdependency of multiple levels of scale, and I'll comment on that a bit further. So it is not a guarantee that something that qualifies as a Fibonacci forecast will be accurate. Some may be inaccurate, but Fibonacci forecasting may be measurably more accurate, measurably more valuable than other methods of forecasting. Again, we're talking about noticing things quickly and interpreting them or analyzing them correctly. Some amount of speculation, anticipation goes on all of the time, and it's normal. And as we develop in our capacity to predict things, to forecast things, we notice more and more patterns. This isn't really that special, but I wanted to share this thing of the distinctions between predictions in general, forecasting in general, then Fibonacci forecasting, this acknowledgement of the interdependency of multiple levels, which has to do with just noticing things early. So the interdependency of multiple levels of scale is the recognition that a pattern may repeat at multiple levels of scale, and changes in the smaller levels or the larger levels will sometimes happen seemingly simultaneously, like a hologram, where at a small level and then perhaps instantaneously or almost instantaneously at multiple levels of scale, similar changes will manifest, whether that is a disintegration or a new growth. So for instance, in the images to the left, those are mathematically ideal or perfect geometries that are visibly similar to the leaf patterns of a natural fern. And you can notice the same curved triangular shape clearly visible in the entire shape, marked with the green lines, as well as the smaller curved triangular portions. So I have two green lines in one of the segments, and then each of those segments is itself composed of smaller little triangular curved portions. And I made a filled-in green triangle on the bottom image. And then here's an actual fern leaf. There's a little bit of randomness in the actual fern leaf that's not in the perfect mathematical model. But it's recognizable that the perfect model and the actual fern leaf are displaying that same property of interdependency of multiple levels of scale, where we have a repeating of, in this case, simply the two-dimensional shape. Of course, fern leaves uncurl and actually have three dimensions of shape, but we're just dealing with two-dimensional flat screens now, so we'll ignore that third dimension. So just noticing things early. When you can see a pattern on a small level, you can extrapolate. How would this look if this pattern continues on an unimpeded period of time, an unimpeded two-dimensional landscape or three-dimensional field of space, time, right? We can simply extrapolate. Notice where the pattern is going. Where the pattern is going. Doesn't mean the pattern will get there, but that's where the pattern is going. That's Fibonacci forecasting. That's a clear distinction between most predictions and forecasting in general. There's one more segment, specific benefits of Fibonacci forecasting.